Cade Cunningham's Pistons went 14-68 last year. He just made All-NBA first team. 29 NBA seasons since a Piston last cracked that list. The last one was Grant Hill in 1997. Sixth player in NBA history to average 23, 9, and 5 across a full season. LeBron, Jokic, Luka, Westbrook, Harden, Cade. A 29-year drought does not end because one player gets better. It ends because the roster finally fits the offense he runs. This is the chalkboard that turned a 14-68 team into the East 1 seed in 24 months. The offense, the roster, and the 6'7" lead guard at the middle of both. The 48-minute lead guard heliocentric engine. That is the structure that was missing in Detroit for 29 seasons. Let us walk the numbers. 29 seasons since the last Pistons All-NBA first-team selection. Grant Hill, 1997. The franchise's last championship came in 2004. Chauncey Billups passing inside to Ben Wallace. Rasheed Wallace. Tayshaun Prince, a defensive five-man unit that won a ring without an offensive engine. That was the Pistons' identity for 2 decades. Defense by committee, no fulcrum, no single player absorbing 30% of possessions, no single player bending 2 defenders on every pick and roll. A heliocentric offense is the inverse of that identity. It needs one player who can absorb the load and read the floor in real time. Detroit could not run that offense for 29 years because Detroit did not have that player. Grant Hill came closest. Then injuries, then the franchise drifted. So look at the company Cade just joined. 6 players in NBA history have averaged 23 points, 9 assists, and 5 rebounds across a full season. LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Cade Cunningham. 5 of those names are the most heliocentric offensive engines of the modern era. Each one built a roster around himself. The drought was not a talent problem, it was an architecture problem. Detroit drafted the architect in 2021. 1997 was the last time the Pistons had an All-NBA first-team selection. 2026 is the next. 14-68 last year, All-NBA first team this year, not because Cade Cunningham got better. The actual mechanism is the 6'7" lead guard pulling up over drop coverage. Watch the geometry. The oversized lead guard mid-range pick and roll. That is the entire engine. Cade is 6'7". Most lead guards are 6'1" to 6'3". A lead guard at 6'7" changes the math on every pick and roll. The standard NBA defense to a heliocentric guard is drop coverage. The big drops to the free throw line. The on-ball defender goes over the screen. The guard is forced to take the pull-up jumper or pass. A smaller guard against drop coverage has 2 options: pull up over the drop or pass to the roller. An oversized guard has 3: pull up over the drop, pass to the roller, or shoot over the recovering on-ball defender from the elbow because that defender's reach is short relative to the shooter's release point. Detroit's offense weaponizes that third option. Cade hunts elbow pull-ups. The drop coverage cannot collapse hard enough to stop the pull-up without abandoning Jalen Duren rolling to the rim. So the drop stays soft, the pull-up comes clean. When Cade pulls up at the elbow, Duren's defender freezes for a half beat. That half beat is everything. Duren made All-NBA third team this season, not because his individual game took a leap, because Cade's gravity finally pulled the rim defender out of position and Duren rolled into open space possession after possession. 5 other players in NBA history have averaged 23, 9, and 5 across a season. Each of them built a team around himself. Now Detroit has too. Same engine, new geometry. That is the story of the 46-win swing. 24 months ago, the Pistons were 14-68, the worst record in the NBA. The engine was already there. Cade was averaging close to All-NBA numbers even then. The roster around him could not convert his production into wins. The lob threat was inconsistent. The wing defender did not exist. The corner spacer who holds the help defender honest did not exist. The easy take is that Cade got better. He did not in any meaningful per-game sense. His scoring, his assist rate, his rebounding, all moved less than 5% year over year. The chalkboard take is that the roster geometry got built. Jalen Duren became a true lob threat anchor, all-NBA third team this season, the roller whose touches scale with Cade's gravity. Ausar Thompson became the wing cut option that absorbs the crossmatch when Cade's defender doubles. The two-way wing the engine needed. The empty side corner finally had a shooter who held the help defender honest. The fourth piece of the engine. A heliocentric engine cannot turn a 14-68 team into a 60-22 team by itself. The engine needs four corresponding pieces: a roller, a cutter, a corner spacer, a switchable defender. Detroit added or developed three of those four between 2025 and 2026. The numbers tell the same story: 14-68 to 60-22, 0.171 to 0.732, 15th in the East to first, 0 All-NBA selections to 2. Same engine, new geometry, 46-win swing. So here is what the chalkboard says. The hypothesis. A 29-year franchise drought does not break because one player is finally good enough. It breaks because the roster geometry around that player finally fits the offense he runs. The steel man is reasonable. Cade Cunningham took the leap. He went from a good young guard to a top 5 MVP candidate in 12 months. The All-NBA selection is just the lagging indicator. The Pistons would have won 50 games with last year's supporting cast. The only variable that mattered was Cade. That story has one problem: Jalen Duren. Duren made All-NBA third team in the same season. Duren did not take a star-level individual leap. Duren's production exploded because Cade's mid-range gravity pulled the rim defender out of position possession after possession. A structural role explosion, not an individual ascent. If the only variable that mattered was Cade getting better, Duren's All-NBA selection has no explanation. The roster geometry is the explanation. The magnitude is the second tell: 46 wins in 24 months. Individual ascent moves a team 8 to 12 wins. 46 wins requires the roster to fit the engine. So here is the verdict. The Pistons did not break a 29-year drought because Cade Cunningham finally crossed a talent threshold. They broke it because the franchise finally built a roster that converts heliocentric production into wins. 5 other players in NBA history have averaged 23, 9, and 5 across a season. Detroit had to invent its own version of the geometry those 5 played inside of. The 6'7" lead guard is the structural anomaly. Detroit drafted the anomaly in 2021 and spent 4 years building the geometry around him. 3 pillars. Pillar 1, the anomaly. A 6'7" lead guard with mid-range gravity, the lead guard profile Detroit has never had before. Pillar 2, the engine, the high pick and roll with the oversized guard pulling up over drop coverage. The shot only Cade can hunt at this rate. Pillar 3, the geometry. Duren as all-NBA lob threat. Ausar Thompson as cross-match wing. The corner spacer that holds the help. The roster 1997 never had. 29 years, 1 player, 3 pillars. The chalkboard finally caught up to Detroit. The 2026 NBA playoffs are about to test whether a 60 regular season win Pistons team can translate. A heliocentric offense has never won a championship in Detroit. The defensive identity that won the 2004 ring is gone. The chalkboard belongs to Cade now. Next episode of Chalk Tactics, we go inside the East's most ambitious switch-everything defense and ask whether the league has finally solved heliocentric basketball, or whether 60 wins says no. Until then,